20 minutes a day is the entire time behind a system built to push a faceless channel toward $30,000 a month. One stick figure channel crossed 7.5 million views on a single upload in 2 months. Here's the exact system. Let's get the framing right before anything else, because it matters. 30,000 a month isn't a number I'm pulling out of thin air, and it isn't a number any single channel in this breakdown hit on day one either. It's the ceiling this specific kind of leverage points toward. Once you stack a few things together, videos that actually perform, a production cost near zero, and enough volume that one good week compounds instead of resetting back to nothing. 20 minutes a day is real though, and it's the actual bottleneck this entire system is built to remove, not the ideas. Not the creativity, the clicking, the waiting, the manual syncing that used to eat 3 or 4 hours out of every single upload. I'll be straight with you. The first time I tried wiring something like this together, I burned most of an afternoon on one connection step that turned out to be a single missing background program nobody warns you about until you've already hit the wall. I'm telling you that up front because it's exactly the kind of thing that makes people close the laptop and quit 3 steps in right before the part that actually works. Here's what almost nobody says about channels blowing up in this space right now. The money was never really in the idea. It's in how fast you can turn an idea into a finished, published video. A while back, this kind of output meant a team, a budget, and months of setup. Right now, it's a handful of prompts in a system that runs largely on its own. And it's not tied to one visual style either. Some of the biggest examples right now are simple stick figures. Others lean into a rough, hand-drawn MS Paint look. Others go clean and animated, clay motion, whiteboard, pixel art, isometric, whatever fits the channel. The visual style has basically become a setting you choose, not a skill you spend years building. And that matters more than it sounds like, because it means the 20 minutes a day isn't spent learning to draw or animate, it's spent making decisions. Which topic, which style, which script to greenlight, the actual creative part, while the repetitive part runs in the background. Most people trying to build something like this are still doing every piece by hand. Generating one image at a time, downloading each one separately, guessing where it belongs on the timeline, nudging clips around until the timing feels roughly right. That's 3 or 4 hours of video easily, before thumbnails or a description even enter the picture. Post 5 videos a week that way, and you've burned 15 to 20 hours purely on repetitive production work, time that should have gone into actually growing the channel. And on top of that, most people set the whole thing up backwards from step 1, which is exactly why so many attempts stall before a second video ever goes up. They fight a tool connection that should take 2 minutes, hit a cryptic error, assume they broke something, and quietly give up. If that's already happened to you, it wasn't you, nobody walked you through the real order of operations. 20 minutes a day only sounds unrealistic if you're still picturing the old way of doing this. One image at a time, one manual sync at a time, one guess at a time. So here's the actual discovery, and it's the opposite of what most tutorials teach. Most people write the script, generate every visual scene, then create the voiceover last, and try to sync all 3 together afterward. It feels logical. It's completely backwards. Generate your scenes before the voiceover exists, and you're forcing 2 things together that were never built for each other. And viewers feel that mismatch, even if they can't say why they swiped away. The correct order is voiceover first, scenes second, always. A voiceover has natural pauses baked into it, tiny gaps between sentences and ideas, and every one of those pauses is exactly where a scene should end and the next should begin. Not guessed, not forced, not synced after the fact, built directly around the real rhythm of the voice. To make that concrete, a real pause might land at 1 second and 12 frames, marking the end of scene 1, then 3 seconds and 18 frames for scene 2, then 6 seconds and 7 frames for scene 3, and so on through the entire script. Every one of those numbers comes from how the voice actually breathes, not from someone eyeballing a timeline. That single reordering is the real difference between a video that feels smooth and one that feels like 2 projects stapled together, and it's the difference that actually protects your 20 minutes. Alright, here's the full build, step by step. Step 1. Get your research and script done in a single move. Open a Claude conversation and point it at a channel you want to study in your niche or an adjacent one. Ask it to study that channel's best performing videos, how the hooks are built, and how the scripts are structured. Then write you a completely original script in that same style on a brand new topic. It digs through the pattern, picks a topic that fits, and hands you a full script from scratch, sometimes offering a handful of topic options to choose from first. This step alone used to be an entire day of scrolling competitors and taking notes, and it's now one message. Before any of this runs though, you need to connect your chosen image or video generation tool to Claude once through the connector settings, adding it as a custom connector, signing in, and authorizing access. It can be fiddly the first time, a missing background program, or an extra flag on a command is the usual culprit. If a command fails the first time you paste it, don't assume you've broken something. It's usually one missing dependency, a runtime that lets your computer execute the script in the first place, or a version control tool the installer quietly expects to already be there. Both are small, free, one-time installs, and once they're in place, the same command that failed usually just works. It's a one-time setup, not something you repeat per video, and it will not eat into your daily 20 minutes once it's done. Step 2. Record your voiceover before you generate a single visual. Copy your finished script and take it to a free AI voice tool. Browse the voice library and actually pick something with the right tone for your niche, not just whatever's first on the list. If you'd rather skip AI voices entirely, using your real voice is genuinely worth considering too, since it makes you stand out from the growing pile of channels using the exact same handful of generic defaults. If you do stick with an AI voice, at least avoid the 2 or 3 most overused options, or look into cloning something that's genuinely your own so there's zero chance it overlaps with another channel already using it. Most free plans give you a monthly credit allowance that's plenty for a daily short-form upload, so this step generally costs you nothing to start. Generate the full narration and download it. This file is now the backbone everything else gets built around. Step 3. Don't guess your scene timings, extract them. Take that voiceover file to a transcription tool that can detect pauses, not just words, and run it in the higher accuracy mode rather than the fast one, since every fraction of a second matters here. It transcribes your entire script and marks the exact timestamp of every natural pause in the audio, down to the frame. Download or copy that timestamp transcript. You now have the precise blueprint for exactly where every scene needs to start and end straight from the voice itself, and this is the step that quietly saves you the most time later. Step 4. Turn every time-stamped line into its own detailed visual prompt. Head back to your Claude conversation and paste in the full timestamp script. Ask it to generate a detailed image or video prompt for every single timestamped line. One prompt per line, no exceptions. It won't hand you all of them at once, it works in batches, so just say next until every line has a matching prompt. A few things are worth spelling out explicitly here, because they make a genuine difference. Tell it to read the full script first so it understands the overall story, and to keep any recurring characters, locations, or objects visually identical across every prompt they appear in. Otherwise, you'll end up with 3 slightly different versions of what's supposed to be the same thing. And that inconsistency is oddly easy for viewers to notice even when they can't say why something feels off. Describe your exact visual style, your aspect ratio, your color palette, and clear rules about what shouldn't appear. Things like unwanted extra text baked directly into the image. Since AI image tools have a habit of adding text nobody asked for if you don't explicitly forbid it, and if you do want a specific word or short label somewhere in a scene, say so directly rather than hoping it guesses right. Once that structure is dialed in, ask for a downloadable file with every prompt in it so you're not copy-pasting 100 separate messages by hand. Step 5. Generate everything in bulk instead of one image at a time. There are 2 solid ways to do this part. One is connecting an image or video generation tool directly to Claude through its connector settings, so Claude reads your prompt file and your timestamp script together and handles the entire generation and download process in one pass, naming and saving every file by its timestamp automatically. Some of these tools will check your remaining credits first and estimate the cost across a few quality tiers before you commit to anything. The other option, if you're using a browser-based image generator instead, is a bulk generation browser extension built specifically for this, where you paste your entire prompt file in at once, Set your aspect ratio and output settings, hit generate, and walk away, while it works through every prompt in the background, downloading each finished image automatically. Either path lands you in the same place, a folder full of consistent, correctly named visuals with zero manual downloading, which is exactly what protects the 20-minute promise once you're doing this daily. Step 6. Assemble everything using the timestamps as your map, not your eyeballing. Open your editor, drop your voiceover onto the timeline first since it's your foundation, then bring in every generated image or clip. Look at the file name or label on the next scene since that number is the exact second it needs to begin. Move your playhead to that precise point and trim the previous clip right there. Repeat for every scene in order, and if a boundary feels slightly off by a frame once you watch it back, nudge it, that's completely normal. The timestamps get you extremely close, not always pixel perfect on the first pass. This is the part that actually creates a video's rhythm, and it's only possible because you built your voiceover first, and it's usually the fastest step in the entire process once you've done it more than once or twice. Step 7. Know there's a simpler path too. If you'd rather skip building a custom pipeline entirely, some newer all-in-one tools let you skip every step above and just type one plain language instruction, your topic and your visual style, and get back a fully narrated, fully animated, finished video directly, no separate voiceover step, no separate prompt file, no manual assembly. It's a genuine trade-off, you give up some fine control, but for anyone just testing whether a niche or style even works before committing real time to it, that trade is absolutely worth it. There's no wrong choice here, it depends whether you want maximum control or maximum speed on a given day. Step 8. Don't stop at the video, automate everything that comes after it too. Once your video is finished, the same conversation can generate a full upload package, a curiosity-driven title, an SEO-friendly description with timestamps pulled straight from the finished video, relevant tags, and several thumbnail concepts to pick between. If a thumbnail comes back with an obvious mistake, a wrong number, a doubled-up detail, you don't need to regenerate from scratch, just describe exactly what's wrong in plain language and ask for a fix. Some workflows will even let you preview exactly how a given title and thumbnail combination would look sitting on a real YouTube homepage before you commit to either one. Step 9. Once you're comfortable with the basics, you can push this further by turning your entire channel, not just a single video, into something Claude actively manages. This looks like a small set of connected tools that each handle one job. One that audits your whole channel and maps your content pillars, your competitors, and your own brand voice. One that does deep research on a new topic using frameworks borrowed from professional content researchers. One that writes scripts using patterns pulled from proven viral structures. And one that builds thumbnails by actually searching for and referencing real competitor thumbnails first instead of generating blind. Some setups go even further, auto-generating a full slide presentation from a finished script for formats that use one, or writing an entire SEO-optimized description by transcribing the finished video and pulling real timestamps straight out of it instead of typing them by hand. Once it's studied your channel's history, its title and thumbnail suggestions start getting personalized to what's actually worked for your specific audience, not just generic best practices. This is more setup than the basic workflow, and it's genuinely optional, but it's where this stops being a way to make one video faster and starts being a way to run an entire channel with far less of your own time in the loop. Step 10. Once one video genuinely works end-to-end, stop thinking about this one video at a time. The whole point of this system is that it doesn't need you standing over it. Once your workflow is dialed in, kick off multiple videos on completely different topics at the same time, each getting its own research, its own script, and its own consistent visual style, running independently while you do something else entirely. That's the actual shift. Going from 3 or 4 hours producing a single video to 20 or 30 minutes, setting several running at once and checking back later. Which is the only realistic way 20 minutes a day turns into real monthly volume instead of one lonely video a week. Step 11. When something breaks mid-run, don't panic and don't start troubleshooting line by line yourself. A prompt might get flagged, a file path might be off, a piece might fail to generate on the first attempt. That's completely normal, especially early on. Describe exactly what went wrong in plain language. The voiceover didn't generate. This scene came back empty. This file is in the wrong place. And let it read the error and correct itself. More often than not, it diagnoses the actual problem and quietly rebuilds the broken piece without you needing to understand what technically went wrong. One habit that makes every step above go smoother: keep a dedicated, clearly organized folder for this entire workflow. One spot for scripts, one for generated images, one for finished videos, one for logs. It feels like unnecessary setup the first time, but once you're juggling several videos generating at once across multiple topics, everything landing in a predictable, labeled place instead of scattered across your downloads folder is what keeps this actually manageable. Real quick, a few things worth keeping in mind before you go build one of these yourself. Never publish the very first thing your system produces without watching it back in full. You're still the editor here, and that review step is what separates a channel that grows from one that quietly gets buried. Lock in one consistent visual style and stick with your niche instead of chasing whatever's trending this exact week, since an identity is what keeps people coming back. Don't dump 10 videos out on day one and then vanish for 2 weeks, because consistency is what these platforms actually reward. And a system this easy to run makes staying consistent the easiest part of the whole thing, not the hardest. In whichever tools you land on, spend real time getting your very first prompt structure right, since a vague, half-explained prompt is where almost every inconsistent, off-style result actually comes from, not some limitation of the tools themselves. Now, here's what all of this actually looks like once it's running for real. One creator running this exact stick figure, hand-drawn style crossed 7.5 million views on a single upload, with the entire channel sitting at 14 videos, 137,000 subscribers, and 14.5 million total views, all inside 2 months of posting, using nothing but this workflow. Another creator working in a completely different style, simple MS Paint animation, generated over 100 fully consistent, correctly time-stamped images from one detailed prompt and turned an entire finished video around, voiceover, visuals, and music in about 20 minutes of actual hands-on work, which is the literal number this whole approach is named after. A separate long-form automation setup cut per video production time from 3 or 4 hours down to 20 or 30 minutes once the full pipeline was running, and its builder talks about that specific 20 minutes a day shift as the actual gap between a side project stuck around $1,000 a month and a channel pushing toward $5,000. And on the more advanced end, one creator built an entire suite of connected tools handling research, scripting, thumbnails, descriptions, and post-upload analysis for their channel, running several parallel research passes on their own channel in one command before a single word of script gets written. Stack that kind of leverage across several channels or across enough volume on one, and the 30,000 a month ceiling stops being a slogan and starts being a plausible extension of numbers that are already real, even if no single video in this specific breakdown claims to have hit it yet. And none of this is actually locked to YouTube either, if you want to think bigger than one channel. The same pipeline that builds a faceless story video can just as easily build a clean product explainer for a business, a walkthrough of an app's onboarding flow, a course lesson turned into a fully narrated video instead of a screen recording, or the same finished video translated into another language with one extra instruction. Once the system exists, the output isn't limited to one format, it's limited to whatever you point it at next. So if you're serious about actually building one of these instead of watching someone else run theirs, start small. Get one full video through this exact pipeline end to end before you try to scale anything. Voiceover first, timestamps extracted, prompts generated, visuals bulk created, edited against the real timing, packaged with a title, description, and thumbnail at the end. Once that one video works, and only then, start layering in the extras, the bulk generation, the parallel sessions, the full channel management setup, because trying to build all of it at once on video one is exactly how people end up overwhelmed and quit before seeing a single finished result. Drop your niche down in the comments, I read every one, and if enough of you want it, I'll do a full screen recorded build from a completely blank channel next, mistakes and all. 20 minutes a day is genuinely the easy part once this is running. The only real question left is whether you actually sit down and build it once instead of watching one more video about someone else who did. Make sure you're subscribed for that one, because the gap between doing this manually and doing this automated isn't a small edge anymore. It's the difference between a side project and an actual channel. And it's a much shorter gap to close than it looks from the outside.